Welcome to our show. Our topic today very well could be the health and wellness discovery of the 21st century. It has only been truly available in the United States and the rest of the Western world for less than a decade, yet it's already one of the most popular nutritional supplements in the world. I'm talking about the global phenomenon that is noni juice. Hello, I'm James Jameson. My guest today is truly one of the world's foremost medical experts on noni juice. He's a Johns Hopkins hospital-trained physician with both an MD and a PhD. He did research and taught on the medical school faculty at Johns Hopkins Medical Institutions and at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, where he held the positions of Assistant Professor of Medicine and Associate Professor of Physiology. He also enjoyed a brilliant medical career that spanned 3 decades. My guest is a New York Times best-selling author and for 18 years wrote a global medical column for the Los Angeles Times Syndicate. He has dedicated nearly 10 years of his life to the study of noni juice. His published findings have sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. When he is not studying noni juice, he serves as a pro bono health consultant and advisor to the International Council of Caring Communities, an NGO of the United Nations. I'm pleased you could join us today, Dr. Neil Solomon.
James, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. Dr. Solomon, as I mentioned in your introduction, you've enjoyed a brilliant 30-year career as a health professional and researcher and author. Given that background, what interested you in finding alternative medicines as opposed to traditional medicines, or is there something wrong with traditional medicine?
There's nothing wrong with traditional medicine. I was trained in traditional medicine. I love traditional medicine, but there's more to medicine than just traditional medicine.
Yes.
There are other areas that can complement traditional medicine. And the thing that really got me into the study of noni was the fact that I saw a lot of patients in the hospital and out of the hospital who were getting ill because they were taking medications. Now, medications are important to take. You need to take your medications, but you should take the least amount that will do the job. And sometimes you can take food supplements, and that will allow you to take less medication, and therefore you'll have less side effects. So with this open-minded attitude that I have, I decided that it would be very interesting to see if we could do something with natural healing.
That's good, Dr. Solomon. Now, with all of the natural remedies that are out on the market today, what was it that ultimately caused you to select noni juice, and what is noni juice anyway?
The reason I selected noni juice was in 1996. I was an editor of a health journal, and we looked into new aspects of health and medicine. And the publisher asked me, he said, Dr. Solomon, do you know anything about noni? I said, no. What is it? He said, well, that's what I want to know what it is. Can you find out? And I said, sure. So what I did is I called my friends at Johns Hopkins. Not one of them heard about it. I called my friends around the world who are professors of medicine in high esteemed, prestigious hospitals and medical schools. Not one of them heard about it. And I came back and I said, I can't find anybody that heard anything about noni. But in my study of the literature, I did find the name Dr. Ralph Heineke. And so I phoned up Dr. Ralph Heineke. And I said, Dr. Heineke, this is Dr. Neil Solomon. I'm looking into noni. What can you tell me about it? And at first, he said, well, a little defensive. He said, well, wait a minute. What do you want to know about noni for? I said, well, I think it's interesting. From what I heard, it helps lots of people for lots of different things. And that opened him up, and then he started telling me about it. And he said, yes. He told me all the things that they help for, from headaches to arthritis to cancer. You name it, it didn't help. And I said, well, do you know anybody I can talk to in the United States who can tell me about it? Somebody who's taken it, and they could tell me really what they felt. And no problem. And I got a name, and then from that person, I got other names, and then from that person, got other names, and pretty soon I had a stable of people who were telling me about noni. And it did help. According to them, it helped them from cancer, heart disease, arthritis, rheumatism, sexual problems, all the way to stroke. And each of them had their own particular problem, and each of them told me their own story. And they were fascinating stories. To name a few of these people, there was Ken and Mary Rowland, where arthritis was a problem. There was Drew and Neva White, and they had cancer problems. There was Mark and Joe Rosen, and they had infectious problems.
All right, why don't we go ahead and move on to specific diseases and conditions. What about cancer?
Cancer is, as you know, a terrible disease. And there are two ways that Noni helps fight against cancer. One is to try to prevent it, which I think is just so important. And the second is to help with the symptoms for those people that have cancer. So let's go back to the prevention. There's a very interesting study done by Dr. Myung Wong. She's an MD scientist from the University of Illinois, and she had two groups of male mice. One group she gave Tahitian noni juice to. Then she gave them a substance that causes changes in the DNA which can cause cancer. The other group she gave a placebo to, no Tahitian noni juice, gave them the same amount of cancer-causing substance, and she found that there were big differences in the protection between the group that had Tahitian noni juice and the group that didn't get Tahitian noni juice. The results are as follows. In the lung, there was 50% protection. In the heart, 60%. Wow. In the liver, 70%. And in the kidney, 90% were protected. Now, that's amazing. It really is. Yes. And that study is in the medical literature. That's been published in a peer-reviewed journal. She presented material at the American Cancer Society, and that's good, solid stuff. Now, in Tahitian noni juice, proserpine helps the body heal itself. That's one of the big things that it does. It's one of the 150 nutraceuticals that's in there. And of the people that I studied throughout the world, 2,188 people had cancer. And of that group, 69% said it helped them. It helped decrease their symptoms, whether they were decreased pain, increased energy, or just felt better. And the average amount of noni, Tahitian noni juice, that was taken by each of those people was 3.5 ounces a day. And then there was a fascinating lady, Ann Wilson, and Gary and Ann told me about their problem.
The summer of 2002, I started to maybe not feel my best. I started to have maybe like some flu-like symptoms. I started to feel bloated. I was very tired. So I decided to see my physician, and he found a mass that he could see. I didn't feel it at all, but he could feel a mass. I went in and had a sonogram, and they said it was about the size of a 4-month-old fetus. The next day I was in surgery, and they removed a tumor on my left ovary that was 1,032 grams, which is about 2 1/3 pounds, that did turn out to be ovarian cancer. The doctor, even though the cancer had not spread, he did recommend as a precautionary measure that I go through 6 rounds of chemotherapy as soon as I could, which I did start in October of 2002. And there was absolutely a miracle that happened there. I continued to take noni juice. I asked my doctors if that was okay, and they said absolutely, just to do and be and take anything that I wanted. And of course I wanted to take Tahitian noni juice. And I continued to take 4 to 8 ounces throughout the day. I'd take 2 to 3 ounces at a time for the total of 4 to 8 ounces. And I was never sick. I never had the vomiting. I never was nauseated. I never had any sores in my mouth or anything. negative feeling-wise. I absolutely felt wonderful. If you'd look at me, the coloring in my face was just normal. I attribute all of that, I believe, to taking noni juice on a consistent and regular basis. It was a very hard experience to go through, very scary, very difficult for my family. Teaching noni juice saved my life. I truly believe that.
Wow. Dr. Solomon, that's good news. Hearing about all the benefits you can get from noni to help with. What help can they possibly get from noni juice for this problem?
1,675 people throughout the world took Tahitian noni juice just to see if it would help them with their arthritis. 78% said it helped them, and they took on an average of 3 ounces a day. Now, how did it help their arthritis problem? It helped with the chronic pain. It decreased the chronic pain. It helped with energy. It gave them more energy, and it just made them feel better.
About a year ago, I found I was in such pain, and what happened is I was getting these shooting, this sensation up and down my arms. I had numbness and tingling, and I went to the doctor, and he gave me, told me take all these different supplements because I couldn't take any of the drugs that were on the market. And so I went for physical therapy, I went for massages, and I spent thousands of dollars, and nothing was working. But my sister told me about Tahitian noni juice. She had seen another woman at work have health improvements. She tried it for herself. She had some health improvements. And so when I ordered it, I started taking some right away. As soon as I got my bottles of juice, I opened one up and I drank an ounce. And I noticed a change within an hour that I didn't have that shooting pain. Today I have all my mobility back. I have all my movement back in my hands, and I can open up the bottle of noni juice even without any device. I can do everything I used to do. In fact, I have not felt better. I can't even remember the last time I felt as good as I feel now. I drink 3 to 4 ounces a day. I don't ever stop, and I will never stop drinking Tahitian noni juice because my husband, he got back his wife, my daughter, got back her mother, and I got back my life. So I'm sold on Tahitian noni juice. I'll never stop using it.
18 million Americans suffer from asthma, a number that has more than doubled since 1980. And most people realize that with severe asthma, tasks like walking up a flight of stairs, taking a leisurely stroll outdoors may result in several hours of labored breathing. What you may not realize is in some of these cases, especially among the elderly, asthma can be fatal, although most asthma deaths are preventable. Amazing, Dr. Solomon. Your findings indicate that noni may benefit more than 70% of asthma sufferers. Tell us about noni juice and asthma.
What you say is absolutely true. And it's going to get worse because there's more pollution of our air, our water, and our food. All 3 of those are triggers of asthma. And we're all getting worse, not better in this country. So we can expect more asthma. But of the 8,077 people who had asthma and who took Tahitian noni juice, 71% said it helped their symptoms. They either breathed better, they didn't have the compression of their chest, they didn't cough as much, they didn't wheeze, and that was on 2.5 ounces. Blood pressure, which is a silent killer, of those people with blood pressure elevations, 1,869 people, 84% said that 3 ounces of Tahitian noni juice a day helped them, and in fact, many of their doctors have documentation their blood pressure went down. Strokes, which is the toughest of all in the cardiovascular field to try to do something about once you get it, there were 1,806 people, and of those people, 53% said It definitely helped after they took on an average of 3.5 ounces a day of Tahitian noni juice.
That's amazing. You know, Dr. Solomon, before I met you today, I didn't know hardly anything about noni juice, Tahitian noni juice. But with all of your findings, all of your studies and the results that you're getting, this is shouted from the mountaintops kind of information. It's kind of the thing that I think every family in America could be benefited. You may be surprised to learn that diabetes trails only heart disease and cancer as a leading cause of mortality in the United States. Now, while it's true that there is no known cure for diabetes, Dr. Solomon, your findings suggest that as many as 4 out of 5 diabetes sufferers can find some relief by incorporating a steady regimen of noni juice.
That's right. We looked at 5,575 people who had diabetes and who drank Tahitian noni juice. Of those, 82% said, there's no question about it, it helped me in some way. The average that they drank was 3 ounces a day.
My son Joshua was diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 3. And one of the things that they do when you have diabetes is send you in for regular checkups. Every 3 months we go in for a clinic. And this is just to assess for complications and make sure things are running smoothly. One of the tests they do at those clinics is called a glycohemoglobin A1C test. And this tests your blood over the past 3 months to see what your average blood sugar reading has been. The goal is to be under 8%. And when we got Josh's reading back that month, it was over 14%, which puts him in a high-risk category. And the entire management team came in and sat down with us, and we talked about what we could do different, and which was hard because he was so young that trying to keep everything going was really a struggle for us. And shortly after we left, and as we were deciding what we were going to do at home to make things work a little better, I was introduced to Tahitian noni juice. And as we talked about it, we just thought it's worth anything right now is worth trying if it's going to help. So we started giving Josh 2 ounces every day, and he thought that was a real treat because he wasn't used to having juice. And so he was so happy to take his 2 ounces, and he actually drank it right out of the bottle, just enjoyed having his own bottle and his own thing that he got to do. So for 3 months, he regularly took his juice every day. And when we went back in for our clinic and got our A1C reading, it was at 7.4%, and everyone was amazed. The entire team came back in and said, we've never seen a glycohemoglobin cut in half in a 3-month period, and what have you done different? And as my husband and I sat there and thought, the only thing we could think of that we had done differently was to be using the juice. And they were amazed. They were amazed by the juice. We actually left a bottle there with them because they were so amazed at what it had done. And we really enjoy the juice. Josh still takes it. He's 12 now, so he's taken it for this many years, and we've noticed a lot of benefits from it, not just his lower blood sugar readings, but also an increase in health. It's strengthened his immune system and done a lot of great things for him, both as a diabetic and just as a healthy child. I would recommend it to people with children with diabetes, but also just kids in general. All my kids take it now, and we feel like it's been good for all of our children, health-wise.
People talk about this, but kidney health can certainly have a dramatic impact on our quality of life. And again, Dr. Solomon, you say that noni juice can help people with kidney symptoms.
Absolutely. Of 3,764 people who had kidney symptoms, 67% said they had a decreased symptom on 2 ounces a day. One of the unknown things about this is that noni helps the prostate. And for those of us who are over 60, the chances of us having prostate problems is about 80%, and drinking Tahitian noni juice can help those symptoms, and you'll get up much less frequently at night to go to the bathroom.
That's good news. Now, since noni contains potassium and since people with kidney disease should not take in excess of potassium, it follows that people with kidney disease should not drink noni.
Well, that's where a little bit of truth can lead you astray.
Okay.
Too much potassium you shouldn't take. But Tahitian noni juice does not have too much potassium. According to the recommended daily allowance for potassium, we should take in about 2,000 milligrams. That's 2 grams a day. Tahitian noni juice contains 28.52 milligrams per ounce. That's 28.52 milligrams of potassium per ounce. Now that's less. That's 50% less than the comparable amount of orange juice or tomato juice has. It's less than what grape juice, pineapple juice, apple juice contain. So they all contain much more potassium than Tahitian noni juice. So taking it in moderation shouldn't cause you a problem. Conclusion. Drink noni every day. Drink enough noni juice every day. Drink noni juice for a long enough period of time to see beneficial effects. And with that I say, amen.